good morning, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. In today's digital age, millions of people turn to dating apps to find connection and companionship. While most encounters lead to nothing more than coffee dates or new friendships, sometimes these seemingly innocent meetings can take a dark turn. Today, I want to share with you a chilling story that began with a chance encounter in a Texas bar and ended in one of the most disturbing crimes investigators had ever seen. This is the story of Jackie Vandagriff, a 24-year-old college student whose life was cut tragically short, and how her death was connected to a dangerous obsession that had been building for months. The victim, Jackie Vandagriff. Jackie Vandagriff was born on March 4, 1992, in Carrollton, Texas. She was the kind of person who lit up every room she entered, energetic, patriotic, and deeply caring. As a child, she was obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine, often reenacting episodes with her own toy train set. Her parents jokingly said she learned to do somersaults before she could properly walk, which led them to enroll her in gymnastics, where she excelled and competed at the state level. Jackie was a devoted vegetarian, an animal lover who believed strongly in adopting pets from shelters. She was deeply religious, regularly attending St. Peter's Episcopal Church in McKinney. In her free time, she could be found reading everything from Harry Potter to Breakfast at Tiffany's, or listening to James Taylor and Cat Stevens. After high school, Jackie pursued her passion for health and wellness, first becoming a licensed cosmetologist, then enrolling at Texas Woman's University in Denton to study dietetics. She was described by friends as focused, trustworthy, and the smartest person they knew. On September 13, 2016, Jackie decided to visit a bar near campus, hoping to land a part-time job. She had no idea this decision would seal her fate. The predator, Charles Bryant. At that same bar sat 29-year-old Charles Bryant, though he appeared to fit in perfectly among the college crowd. Muscular, clean-shaven with a bald head, Charles had the kind of masculine presence that attracted attention. What Jackie didn't know was that Charles wasn't a student. He was a personal trainer and bartender with a much darker side. More importantly, Charles wasn't supposed to be anywhere near that campus. He had a restraining order against him, barring him from approaching a certain young woman. But he had chosen this bar deliberately, hoping to catch a glimpse of someone who had rejected him. When Jackie walked in, something about her caught Charles's eye. There was something familiar about her appearance that drew him in, something that would prove deadly. The dangerous romance, Charles and Caitlin. To understand what happened to Jackie, we need to go back a few months to June 2016, when 18-year-old Caitlin Mathis met Charles Bryant. Despite being 11 years older, Charles impressed the recent high school graduate. He seemed successful, confident, and undeniably attractive. Caitlin's family worried about the age gap, but her mother decided to let her daughter make her own mistakes. At first, the relationship seemed fine, but after the first month, red flags began appearing. Charles was controlling, manipulative, and demanded to know Caitlin's whereabouts constantly. He required her constant attention and made her feel suffocated. When Caitlin tried to break up with him, in mid-August 2016, Charles revealed his true nature. He became angry and possessive, refusing to accept the rejection. He had such a high opinion of himself that he couldn't believe she would leave him. Though Caitlin briefly gave him another chance, she was already planning her escape. When she left for the University of North Texas in Denton that fall, she saw it as the perfect opportunity to finally end things. A week after starting school, she called Charles and told him it was over. The stalking escalates. Charles didn't take the breakup well. That very night, campus police pulled him over on suspicion of drunk driving. It was pure coincidence that they stopped him, but his presence on campus was no accident. He had driven 30 miles to find his ex-girlfriend. Hours later, he appeared at Caitlin's dormitory. Despite her shock at how he'd found her room, Charles claimed he'd simply seen her name on the door. Terrified, Caitlin called campus police. The responding officer quickly connected Charles to the earlier traffic stop and realized this was a stalking situation. He issued a campus ban and restraining order, hoping to protect the young woman. But Charles wouldn't be deterred. Over the next 2 weeks, he was arrested 3 times for violating the campus ban. He continued sending countless texts, emails, and social media messages, creating new accounts whenever Caitlin blocked him. In one message, he complained about having his heart broken just for bringing flowers to the woman he loved. After his 3rd arrest, an officer warned Charles that any further contact would result in serious prison time. But even facing criminal charges, Charles couldn't let go of his obsession. The fatal night, September 13th, 2016. On September 13th, 2016, Charles sat in that bar near campus, waiting and watching. Earlier that day, he'd spoken with his lawyer about the pending stalking charges and knew he was likely going to prison. But instead of changing his behavior, his anger and frustration had only intensified. When Jackie walked in for her job interview, Charles saw something that triggered him. Later, investigators would note the striking similarity between Jackie and Caitlin, both young, attractive women with similar features. After Jackie's interview, she decided to stay and chat with this charming stranger. She was naturally social and found Charles attractive and engaging. At 9 p.m., she even tweeted about how glad she was that she'd skipped a Tinder date to come to this bar instead. Security cameras captured Jackie, Charles, and some other patrons moving to a second bar, then to a convenience store. The last footage showed Jackie sitting in Charles's car around 1 a.m. She was never seen alive again. The horrific discovery. The next morning, maintenance workers in nearby Grapevine were called about smoke coming from a park area. When they investigated, they found a burned, inflatable children's pool containing human remains. The body was so badly burned and dismembered that investigators initially couldn't determine the victim's age, gender, or identity. However, they caught a break when they discovered the victim's fingerprints were still intact, allowing them to quickly identify Jackie Vandagriff. The autopsy revealed horrific details. Jackie had been stabbed multiple times while still alive, suffered blunt force trauma to her head, and had been strangled. Most disturbingly, her body had been dismembered, with her heart and other organs removed. The official cause of death was strangulation. The investigation. The day after Jackie's body was found, a chilling tweet appeared on her Twitter account. "Never knew I could feel this way." Investigators knew Jackie hadn't posted this. Her killer had accessed her social media. Detectives traced Jackie's last known movements to the bars where she'd been seen with an unknown man. Through witness interviews, they obtained a business card the man had given to someone, identifying him as personal trainer Charles Bryant. When investigators looked into Charles, they discovered his recent arrests for stalking. His social media posts from around the time of the murder were equally disturbing, including messages about tricks that will surprise you and early mornings and sleepless nights. A search of Charles's home and car yielded overwhelming evidence. Jackie's purse in his garbage, her DNA on weapons found at his residence, and evidence of where he'd tried to bury her belongings. Cell phone records showed Jackie's phone had been near his house around 1 a.m. Most tellingly, investigators found the circular impression in his yard where the inflatable pool had sat before he moved it to dispose of the body. The interrogation. expert interrogator Jim Holland, known for his work with psychopaths and serial killers, was brought in to question Charles. Holland suspected that Charles might become a serial killer if not stopped, noting that Jackie appeared to be a victim of displaced rage. Initially, Charles claimed he didn't remember what happened and denied killing Jackie, but Holland used psychological tactics, pretending to be sympathetic and suggesting they figure this out together. Eventually, Charles admitted to picking up Jackie and spending time with her, but maintained her death was an accident during rough sex that went wrong. He claimed Jackie had wanted to be choked and that the zip tie had accidentally tightened too much. Holland didn't believe this story. If it had been an accident, why hadn't Charles called for help? Why had he taken the body home, dismembered it, and burned it? After 6 hours of interrogation, Charles finally revealed the gruesome details of how he'd disposed of Jackie's body, though he never fully explained why he'd removed her organs or what he'd done with them. The trial and verdict. At trial, prosecutors argued that Charles had killed Jackie as a way to release his rage toward Caitlin, whom Jackie resembled. They believed Jackie was victim number 1, and Caitlin could have been victim number 2. The defense maintained it was a tragic accident during consensual rough sex, pointing to security footage showing Jackie appearing comfortable with Charles throughout the evening. However, the prosecution revealed that the autopsy found no evidence that Jackie and Charles had actually had sex, undermining his entire defense. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before finding Charles Bryant guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years, meaning he could potentially be released in 2048. Charles appealed the conviction, but was unsuccessful. He also received an additional 20 years for possession of child pornography found on his phone, though this sentence runs concurrently with his life sentence. The aftermath. Caitlin Matthews lives with tremendous guilt, feeling responsible for Jackie's death. She constantly looks over her shoulder and dreads the day Charles might be released. 2 years after the murder, she and her mother were able to meet with Jackie's grandmother, providing mutual support and healing. Jackie's family established a scholarship in her name in the dietetics program where she had been studying. Charles Bryant is currently serving his sentence in Potter County, Texas. He was never convicted on the stalking charges related to Caitlin. Conclusion. This tragic case serves as a stark reminder of how quickly online connections and chance encounters can turn dangerous. Jackie Vandagriff was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, becoming the target of a man's displaced rage and obsession. The story also highlights the importance of taking stalking seriously. Despite multiple arrests and restraining orders, Charles continued his threatening behavior until it escalated to murder. It makes us wonder, how many similar situations are happening right now? And could tragedy be prevented with stronger intervention? Jackie's memory lives on through the scholarship established in her name and the impact she had on those who knew her. Her story is a sobering reminder to trust our instincts, stay vigilant, and remember that behind every dating profile or chance meeting is a real person whose intentions we can never fully know. What are your thoughts on this case? The intersection of online dating, stalking, and violence raises important questions about safety in our digital age. Share your reflections in the comments below. Stay safe out there, and remember, trust your instincts. They might just save your life.